I want to leap over buildings, want to fly over the shores, save the people from the villains, catch the crooks who rob the stores, write my name upon the sky, and when you call me, I'll be there, faster than a lightning flash, rushing through the cool night air. So start ignition, count to 0. I just wanna be a superhero. Fearless thoughts, emotions swirl. I wanna be the man that saves the world.
All right, Joe, February 15, 2014, the day after Valentine's Day, and look at you and your pink boa celebrating the holiday.
Of course, I'll tell you something. Every day is Valentine's Day for a person like me. The way those girls line up all across my big yard of my palatial estate in Bel Air.
Joe, they're all lining up because they're going to identify you to the police department for peeking into their windows.
Oh, will you shut up, PK?
Well, anyways, Joe, regardless, though, it was a great night. The first match started off with Keith Cage versus Taco.
Yeah, you know, once again, Keith Cage showing. I'll tell you something, PK. He dominated that match. I don't care what you say. I don't care what the outcomes was. The bottom line is, Keith Cage had that guy.
Well, Joe, it came down to this. Taco pins him in a small package. Keith Cage, he was giving it to him pretty good, but eventually he did get the loss overall. Then
yeah,
the next match,
lucky.
Then the next match, we had Will Caution versus Mystic Storm. And Joe, I'll tell you something. It was a very physical match. But Mystic Storm, he did his supernova kick, winds up getting the pin. And Joe, you got to wonder, you know, disorderly conduct, okay? They do okay as a tag team. They're pretty good. You know, they got the tag team championships. But, dude, they are struggling individually. And how can they expect to get ahead in this company if they can't be great singles competitors?
Well, BK, you got to remember one thing. They're young, and they're up and coming. And I'll tell you something, those two are hungry guys. And believe it or not, down the road, you're going to see championships around their waist. Because, yeah, they may have some, you know, slow beginnings, or they're trying to get moving in their career. But you know what? They're learning. They're getting better at every match. And I guarantee you and all those ditch diggers out there, they are future champions.
Well, Joe, after that, we had a tag match. We had the show with Zach Blaine and Rod Bolt versus Jimmy Lee, White Trash, and, of course, you know, Cody Fairview wasn't able to wrestle because he's injured. So Curtis Coleman filled in for him.
Yeah, Mr. Stay Fresh, Mr. Benedict Arnold. You know what? They shouldn't even call themselves White Trash. So they should call them as Fresh Trash. Because I'll tell you something, it's just as trashy as before.
Well, Joe, I'll tell you something. Bolt hit him Bolt hit Curtis Coleman with a backstabber for the win.
Yeah.
And then what was really weird was that as they were leaving the ring, Jimmy Lee hits Cody Fairview, who's already injured, with a skull-crushing finale, and then just walks away.
Well, good.
Why is that good, Joe? I mean, he's turning his back. Joe, White Trash is one of our more dominant tag teams here in the O. And for him to turn his back on his partner like that, I mean, that's not right.
Well, you know, you may not think it's right, but I'll tell you something, PK. It couldn't have been more right. Because I can tell that Jimmy Lee, he's wanting more of the spotlight. I can see through his matches that he's getting more and more desperate for the spotlight. But, you know, one thing he has to do if he wants to step into the limelight is he has to get rid of all that trash, all that dead weight. And Cody Fairview was about 165 pounds of that dead weight.
Well, Joe, it's kind of interesting to see what's going to happen with Jimmy Lee because, you know, ultimately, Joe, he's going to be a singles competitor because I don't see Cody Fairview coming back anytime soon, especially after this. He's already suffered an injury. Now he gets another one on the concrete with the skull-crushing finale. Well, our next match was Wasabi versus Shinobi. Now, Shinobi is the #1 assassin of the Ninja King. And so he comes in the ring, and you can tell the Ninja King is really trying to get into the head of Wasabi because he stood there the whole time at the top of the entrance ramp watching the match.
Head games, PK. I'll tell you something, you get into your opponent's head, you got yourself a winner.
Well, you know, one thing about Wasabi, he's a very technical wrestler, and he was way off his game today. He went from an off-the-top rope crossbody slam, and unfortunately, he missed, and he winds up losing it when Shinobi winds up pinning him.
And see, there you go. If if Wasabi can't even beat one of Ninja King's men, one of his lackeys, well, then how is he going to beat the Ninja King himself?
Well, Joe, this time, as we know, the Ninja King originally stole Wasabi's mask. Well, Wasabi got it back. Well, this time, they stole Wasabi's sword. And Joe, that sword comes back for many generations. And when you take someone that's a ninja and you steal his sword, that is one of the biggest insults that you can actually do to somebody, because that affects not only them, but brings shame to their family, so on and so forth. So I'm kind of looking forward to see how this is going to end and if Wasabi can get his game back on. But I really want to see Wasabi and the Ninja King go for it, and let's end this feud.
Yeah, well, so I can't wait to see that one, BK. This is going to be a match like no other.
Well, Joe, then we had the two brothers. We had Alex Diamond Decker versus the Ultimate Champion, Chad Silva.
Yeah, what did I tell you? The little brother pulls it off, brings big brother in the ring, and pins him.
Gee, Joe, you really love these little brother victories, don't you?
Yeah, well, I always root for the underdog. There's nothing wrong with that. I grew up watching Rocky.
You don't have any little brother, older brother issues, do you?
No, of course not.
I think a lot of people point out that you might, but you can always work that out yourself.
No, I don't have any little brother issues. What are you talking about? I know that you're jealous of me because you live in my shadow. Yeah.
All right. Well, anyways, Decker comes in. It's a good match, but then Decker, they're going back and forth. It looks like Chad Silva's about to get the win when all of a sudden who comes in? Zach Blaine does a price cut on Silva, and then Decker seizes the opportunity and winds up getting the pin.
The point is, Alex Diamond Decker, the wrestler that I once managed, he won. He beat the Ultimate Champion, and you bringing in Zach Blaine, that's just a loser's limp.
Well, Joe, after that match, Zach Blaine and Decker wind up attacking Chad Silva until finally Mystic Storm and Stay Fresh, Curtis Coleman, come in and rescue him.
Yeah, good for him. But I'll tell you something, this ain't over yet. And it's not going to be over until Alex Diamond Decker has that well-deserved Ultimate Championship right around his waist.
Well, Joe, I'll tell you something. We were hoping to get Alex Diamond Decker here tonight. He wasn't here because he did get the victory. But we do want to get Chad Silva's perspective on this. And once again, I'd like to welcome the Ultimate Champion, Chad Silva. Welcome to the recap, Chad.
Chad Silva, it's great to have you back. Absolutely, got the Ultimate Championship here. And I gotta ask you, how does it feel to be beat by your younger brother?
How does it feel to be beat by my younger brother?
I mean, how did it happen?
First off, I wouldn't have been beat by my younger brother if it wasn't for your boy, Zachary Blaine.
My boy? I mean, don't you think that maybe that's an excuse? Zach Blaine coming in, you're using that as an excuse?
An excuse. I guarantee if Zachary Blaine wouldn't have came in that match, I'd have got my brother again.
Well, I'll tell you something. I'm interested to see you against your little brother in a real match with a championship on the line.
I think we'd all like to see that. And Chad, you got to excuse Joe. He's been kind of dealing with the whole little brother issues.
What?
Joe, I'm having an A-B conversation. Can you see your way out of it, please, for a second?
Oh.
Just pretend you're not here. Think about the little voices in your head. Anyways, but I'll tell you something. I thought it was wrong, and ultimately, I would like to see you and your brother go for it, one-on-one, and really see and really put an end to this. And if you walk away with the Ultimate Championship, great. But do you think there's a possibility that you could lose to your brother ultimately?
I'm not putting my brother down at all. He's a great competitor, and I love him to death. He's my brother, but I think I got it. I had him tonight, and if it wasn't for Zach, I would have had it again tonight. But in 2 weeks, Zachary Blaine and Alex Decker will get what's coming to them.
Well, and I look forward to it. Champ, is always great having you on the recap. This is, I think, your 3rd or 4th time.
Champ, thanks again for being on. PK, some of these wrestlers that work for me, I pay them well, and that's how I get treated. Anyway.
That's okay, Joe. I'll treat you to some ice cream on the way home if that'll make you feel better.
Oh, will you shut up, PK?
Don't worry, Big Brother will step in and help you
Will you stop it and get on with our job? Thank you.
Well, Joe, then our next match was a tag match again, this time with Inc. versus the Devlines. Now, Joe, talk about two teams that have really wanted to get a hold of each other.
Oh, yeah, and I'll tell you something, BK. That match tonight, only one word for it. Magic. Well, Joe, it was magic.
Let me tell you something, man. It was magic. And not only that, but they also got an additional team, a member of each team. The Outlaw Johnny Walker comes out of retirement, teams up with Inc. And our own Jake Hughes winds up teaming up with the Devlines. And man, it was a great match, very physical. And what surprised me is how often the tide had changed. Right when you think Inc.'s about to lose, bam, they would pop up and totally change the whole scope of the match. And I mean, it was just incredible. But then what happens? Disorderly Conduct decides they're going to stick their nose where it definitely didn't belong. And this time, Joe, you've got to admit, I know you like them, but they bit off way more than they can choose. And I'll tell you something. Inc. combined with Johnny Walker and the Devlines combined with Jake Hughes, man, they made those kids look like kids in the ring and look like they just did not belong.
Now, PK, let me tell you something. I'm one to call it right down the middle. I call it straight ahead. And I'll tell you something. Yes, I do like Disorderly Conduct, but I only got one word for them sticking their nose where it didn't belong tonight, and that's suicide. So I'll tell you something. Inc. Those guys, those aren't wrestlers. Those are wrecking machines. And I'll tell you something. Once they get their hands on those kids, I'm really worried about the outcome of that, PK.
Well, Joe, I'll tell you something. Now they're definitely in the crosshairs. They were already in the crosshairs as the champions. You know, when you're a champion, you've always got that target on your back.
Absolutely.
You can ask Chad Silva. You can ask any one of our champions. But I'll tell you this much. They've got a bigger target now because they have interfered where they definitely should not with the Devlines, who have sworn revenge, and as well Inc., who have also done the same.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something. If I was Disorderly Conduct, I would change my name and find myself another place to wrestle. But we'll see what happens with them. And then, Joe, we had the other co-main event, and I could not believe this match. We had Mr. Hollywood versus Alpha Mcfly, who came back from 2069 to wrestle once again here at the O.
Nobody comes from the year 2069 or 2030 or anywhere in the future.
Well, Joe, he's told me some interesting things about your future, and I hope you heed them.
Oh,
Anyways,
come on.
But, Joe, this is also our first table, ladders, and chairs match for the vacated corporate championship. And I'll tell you something, it was basically time versus money. I mean, Joe, they went through sheetrock. They, used ladders and chairs and as weapons. We even had Mr. Hollywood put Mcfly through a table right in front of us. And there we are, we're sitting there minding our own business, commentating, and all of a sudden, boom, off the ring steps, here comes Mcfly through the table at the hands of Mr. Hollywood. Now, Joe, I am not a huge fan of Mr. Hollywood, but I've got to give him credit. That was an excellent move.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. Yeah, it went through our table. And yeah, now I know what it feels like to be a Spanish commentator. But let me tell you something, PK. It was hard to believe that match, but I do very well believe, well, actually I know about the outcome. And the outcome was the most exciting outcome in the history of the OSWA because Mr. Hollywood is once again the rightful owner of a championship belt. And once again, another championship being brought into the show.
Well, Joe, I will say this. It was definitely a fair win. I mean, I couldn't complain about any of the show getting involved or anything else. It was definitely a fair win. And so now, of course, we've got to bring in Mr. Hollywood.
Absolutely.
Who I'd like to congratulate and interview as well.
It's about time you call it right down the middle, PK. So I'll tell you something. Great is great. Here he is. Look at Security Shane. What a great man. What a great heart. Helping out his fellow brother here. Hollywood, I gotta say, you are a champion. You are a true champion.
Thank you, sir.
And I tell you, I cannot wait to fly on back to LAX first class with you guys, celebrating, going all up and down the Sunset Strip, having all these women chase us, and with that right there on your shoulder.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Mr. Hollywood, I too would like to congratulate you on a match well done. I mean, I know you and I have had our differences in the past, but this time it was right down the middle, and you proved to be the better man tonight, and I'd like to congratulate you.
Look at that. Finally him being the bigger man.
I know, right? Finally get the respect that I deserve around here.
Yeah.
I can't believe I did it.
Well, I tell you, I knew you were going to do it.
Yeah.
Everybody doubted you, man. You defied the odds.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think, look, when it comes to time, versus money, money always wins.
Absolutely, money talks.
BK, I got you some money right here. Don't worry. I know times are tough, and you need some of that. You put that right there.
There you go. Yeah.
I get by. Thank you.
All that money. So, I told you all week that I was gonna beat Mcfly, and I did it. It was a tough match, but I got through it.
I'll be fair, it was tough, but you know what? You fought like a champion, just as you always do.
Yeah. That Mcfly, he was a good competitor, but I dominated.
It's great to have a true champion here in the OSWA.
Mr. Hollywood, I'm going to ask you what I ask all the champions that I interview when they first win their belts. What does the future hold for the corporate championship?
Oh, it's a secret. I cannot reveal what's going to happen.
You can't reveal, or you do not know?
Oh, I know.
Let me give you a hint, PK. Victory.
Yes.
How about that? We'll just start with victory.
Yeah.
Because that's all you see in the show.
That's right. So, it was good seeing you.
Hey, man, it was good, man. I'll see you at the airport
Yes, sir.
tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Security Shane, you do good. We'll see you at the airport tomorrow, man. First class.
Hey, by the way, you can buy a lot of ham sandwiches with that.
There you go, PK.
I'll go ahead and let them have the last word so they can continue their victory. And it was a good match. And Mr. Hollywood did prove to be the better man this round.
That's right. It's about time you spoke the truth for once.
I'm looking forward to seeing how that belt is defended and how often it's defended.
Oh,
now, Joe, we got our next show in a couple of weeks. I cannot wait, man. We had a packed house here tonight, and I hope we continue to pack it.
That crowd was big, and it was loud, and they were all loving me.
Now, fans, you can always catch us on OSWAentertainment.com, as well as Facebook.com/OSWAentertainment, and as well you can catch us on YouTube.com/OSWAentertainment, and you can also follow us on Twitter. Don't forget, you can also catch up anytime with any of the recaps if you want to see what's happened before, if you're new to the fan base, or if you want to see what's coming up next, feel free to stop by. We're always posting videos and letting our fans be in the know. We thank you for coming, and we look forward to seeing you all again in 2 weeks.
March the 1st, man. I can't wait for it. We're going to see you back. I know the crowd's going to be bigger, badder, louder than ever.
Thanks, and we'll see you all at the next show.